I'll spend a few minutes and talk about selectors in Kumu. And this is labeled selectors 1 because selectors are a pretty deep, robust dimension of Kumu, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to take more than one video to address all of the most relevant aspects of selectors. A selector is simply a way to refer to some cross section of all of the content in your map. The map is composed of elements, connections, and loops, and that set of items, once you create them, you may want to refer to them in particular ways for one reason or another. Now there are two segments of the help documentation, how to use selectors in the CSS selector reference, which you can go and read, though my advice is the best way to get familiar with selectors is to actually play with them. Selectors are used in the search. In other words, the default search is to identify all of those elements whose label contains what you type. So if I type LIN, it tells me that there are local links and external links, and if I hit enter, it would select those two items. So it's created a selector. It didn't show me the selector, but it's actually label contains LIN. And we could go ahead and do this. Let me deselect this, go back out. If I wanted to create this, I could say label contains LIN. LIN helps when you can type. Notice that it's found two elements, and this is the selector. What's nice is that it shows you, when you build a selector, it shows you what it's building, and looking at them as you build them is what I said is a good way to learn about how they're structured and how you can use them. So in this instance, this ends up producing the same thing when I search the labels themselves, but I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and then I'm going to use this selector, and notice again that it selects those two items. I could also simply go to here and say selector test equals, and I could paste that selector that I just created in this local link within this map. And now if I click on this link, it will actually do the same thing that it did if I created the selector through the search facility. So when you develop or identify some cross-section of items that you want to look at, you can get familiar with the way that it does this. Let's see. So selectors 2. So now it's built a selector that says label equals selectors 2, and that's the only element of the map that it will select. And I could go ahead and create that same kind of selector and put it here in this test. You can refer to all of the elements simply as elements, so that if I select this, notice that it does select every element in the map. If I referred to the connection, and then used it, it selects every connection in the map. Though, and there's no way to select some cross-section of the connections in this particular map because none of them have types assigned and none of them have labels assigned. Though I could say that I wanted all of the elements where the type is basic. So it creates me a selector, and when I use it, it only selects those items that are basic. And you can use this selector to do multiple, in other words, element type is basic, basic. Select that, and then say, or element type is advanced. So now it's created this selector that says element type equal basic, or element type is advanced, and I can go ahead and simply select use selector, and it will select all the basic ones and all of the advanced ones. This is when you do filtering, the element selection here, element and connection selections work the same way. They're building a selector in the background, and you can add to that what you want to include or ignore. And when you build this, it then actually adds it. Let's go ahead and do this. Say I only want the basic items. So that's all it shows on the map because that's what I filtered. If I now go and look at the perspective for this map and look at the filters in the perspective are actually set. So by filtering, you're actually defining the perspective, and it will stay that way until such time that you change it. And you can change it here in the filter, or you can change it in the perspective itself and bring it back. Now, what I've been looking at to this point is building a selector based upon elements, connections, and it could be on loops, but there aren't any loop labels at the moment. If you want to refer to a particular entity within the map, remember in a previous video I talked about creating slugs. A slug is created by taking the label for something and replacing all of the special characters with spaces. Then any place there's one or more spaces, replace that by a dash, and then converting it all to lowercase. So if I wanted to refer to your first map, internal references, once you slug them, it's equals and a pound sign and your first map. So now what I've done is I've created an internal reference. When I mouse over it, it centers that. And if I select it, it actually takes me there and opens it. So it's a different kind of selector, but it is in fact still a selector. So my advice is to spend some time, and as you build out your own maps, spend some time and actually interact with this build selector and create some various selections based upon what you've defined in your own map, and also build some as local links just to begin to get familiar with how they work. Now there are also some alternatives or some options for referring to things by type and by tags. But since I haven't talked about tags to any extent yet, I'll go ahead and wait and talk about selectors with regard to tags and other attributes in the next video. So hope that you have found this informative about how to go about creating and using tags in your map, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.